Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2017 Career Mode, episode number 93 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 5. And generally speaking, over the first 4 seasons of Career Mode, Force India have always gone pretty damn well around Monza, obviously due to the Mercedes power unit, but in general, they've made a step up. Generally, Williams and Haas have also made a leap at Monza specifically for some reason compared to maybe some other high-speed circuits with long straights. It's just specifically something about Monza, so looking forward to this one and seeing how we do. And obviously this man, Lewis Hamilton, will be hoping him and Valtteri Bottas can go well today. And for my sake, I hope it's a bad day in the office for the Ferrari guys. Obviously the home crowd will think completely differently, but obviously after having lost the lead of the championship by 1 single point, but still lost the lead of the championship, hopefully I can have another good race instead of a poor one from last time, making a few mistakes there at the Belgian Grand Prix, and we can get ahead of Raikkonen in the race by the time we cross the finish line. But if you have missed that previous episode, episode number 92, be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one. But we're going to head straight into qualifying then. Nothing too much to talk about from practice, just the usual, getting the points that we need and we want to try and push on with development. Obviously, we've got about 7 races left in this season, so just about enough time to maybe squeeze in some upgrades here and there, maybe some minor upgrades to finally the engine, which I've hardly touched this season, basically. But we're going to go ahead into Q1 then. At the moment, all sunny skies, so looking good for us today. So into turn 1, a little bit kind of cautious under braking, just trying to obviously get used to the Force India. I mean, practice obviously getting used to it, but in qualifying it's a different beast on low fuel. And we set up the car though for a little bit of a higher downforce setup than I maybe would have liked, because there is forecast for rain in the race. Now, generally speaking, I'm not too confident in the rain anyway. You guys saw that last episode as well. But at Monza, that will be even more of an issue if we're running too low wings. So I've gone quite damn high compared to maybe what you would think I would go with. You know, I've gone with 3-3 with the Red Bull, went 4-4 with the Renault. I think I ended up doing 5-5 or even 6-6 default wings on the Force India here, because I'm that scared about not being competitive in the corners when it comes to the race and in the wet. So that's why I've gone full gear to the race. So we may be lacking a little bit of straight line speed compared to maybe even our teammate, let alone our rivals in qualifying. But for now, we did quite well in Q1. We actually topped Q1, which gave me some big confidence maybe that we actually go pretty damn well. So across the line then to Q2, and we do make it into Q3, thankfully, and we're still going very well. Perez in P3, myself in P4, Hamilton going well in first place, but Vettel also equally actually bringing up Ferrari there. And actually Renault, surprisingly, to my surprise, not amazing. Actually, they're not thrilling there with the lap times. I thought Red Bull would be poor, but obviously Renault have shown great straight line speed in the last 2 races. Obviously, they've won the last 2 on the trot, so I thought they'd be right up there, but maybe they're waiting till this session Q3 to turn out the wick. But clearly from the previous 4 seasons, that characteristic of the Force India jumping up in performance at Monza is still there, you know, with Perez and myself going well in Q2. Across the line then for Q3, and it's a bit of a different story, unfortunately. We're down in P7, Perez in P8. So, like a lot of the time that's happened previously, just they wait till the last moment, Q3, and then the AI love to turn up the wick finally and, you know, turn up their engines, or they just want to actually bother going around the track in anger. And Hülkenberg gets another pole position for Renault. That man, he is on fire at them, and he's on a late charge to try and force his way into this championship fight then. So it's a great pole for him, and a bit of an annoying one for Ferrari not to even be on the front row then in front of their home crowd. But we move on to the race, to the intro scenes. You can see rain is coming down, so my heart kind of dropped because I don't enjoy the conditions anyway. But at Monza, it's going to be even worse. Braking is going to be very tricky. You know, you're going to have to be, you know, very cautious. We're not locking up and going off circuit, especially into turn 1. That's going to be a contentious issue. Even on the first lap, that's going to be interesting to see how many positions we can maybe gain in the opening few stages. But I'm still confident we can maybe do something from P7, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the rain's not with us the entire race, and then maybe we can do something once the slick tires come on. But let's go to the full grid then, and we'll see how things pan out.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Nico Hülkenberg lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Palmer, Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel, and Bottas. A Force India, Perez, Ricciardo, and Max Verstappen. Grosjean, Magnussen, Felipe Massa, and Sainz, Kvyat, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and Marcus Ericsson. Wehrlein and Stoffel van Dorn completes the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So unfortunately, no grid penalties for anyone up ahead of us to help us jump up the order. Although saying that, we can see both Ferrari cars, and there may be an opportunity to get Raikkonen early on in this Grand Prix, and then maybe try and just cover him off all race if we can. Speaking about all race, that hope that I had of maybe there being a slick period that we can then do some work on is only going to come right at the end of the race, and it's only one icon, so that suggests that's not going to be a lot of laps of dry running. So it's going to be pretty much all wet the entire race long on these intermediate tyres, and a couple of those intermediates are going to be used after some pit stops, as they can't go all race long, obviously. So we're just going to have to make the most of it then, really, and just try and plough on as best we can. So here we go then, to 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix around Monza. Round number 13 of Season 5 is underway, and we get a pretty good start, actually, compared to Sebastian Vettel, who is bogged down quite a bit compared to Bottas, and his teammate Raikkonen is also bogged down. Perez had a lightning start, though, and he's overtaken us as we go down to turn 1, trying to suss out maybe where we can go double lock-up from us as we desperately try and slow down the car. We go to the inside then of Perez, turn to the outside for turn 2, and we are going to try and get this on the exit, a little bit on the curbing, so squirming around. Meanwhile, Bottas, unfortunately, is boxed in by Vettel and Raikkonen in a bit of a formation there, so the Ferrari guys playing tactically, trying to keep ahead of the Silver Arrow, and that's allowed us to maybe close up now. We're in P7, we're overtaking Perez then on the exit of that first chicane. As we go to the second one, we can close up to Bottas, again locking up though, so already you can see those issues I mentioned. Under braking, you know, the setup I've got is quite aggressive on the brakes, and usually meant for the dry. I really haven't done too much setup work in terms of the actual braking setup for the wet, so gonna have to make sure I am as cautious as I can be maybe on that left pedal of mine to stop the lockups happening. But at the moment we've been locking up everywhere, but we're still keeping up with Bottas in a straight line now. We can pull through, and I would imagine myself, Bottas and Perez will be trying and wanting to get past the two Ferrari cars as soon as we can. Obviously, being their home Grand Prix, yes, Ferrari want to do well, but I think we should have the advantage for sure in a straight line, especially with the upgrades we've had. And then you must say, even though Mercedes have been going pretty piss poor, they still should technically have the straight line speed to overtake those red cars up ahead. So at the moment though, on lap 1, all staying put at the moment. Perez keeping me honest though, as we went through Ascari, wasn't the best exit and entry, and actually, speaking about bad entries and exits, in Parabolica, really bad entry, and even worse exit. We've had to really lift off the throttle, otherwise I would have gone for a spin on the curbing on the exit, and Perez gets it down the inside. He's going very unorthodox, aggressively to the right hand side of the circuit. I follow him onto the painted stuff on the right hand side. We go down his inside then for turn 1, and it's a very odd fight to look at really from the outside perspective, probably for the spectators, as we got oh so close to that wall on the right hand side, whereas usually you would think people would be fighting on the left hand side and more towards the racing line. But no, we do eventually get it back into P7 though, ahead of Perez once again, and that fight really hasn't helped us though, because that you can just straight away see, I can hardly see Bottas now up the road, so I kind of need to hope that Perez stops fighting me, and we kind of work as a team and in tandem here to really close up to these guys. Meanwhile, out in the lead of this Grand Prix is Nico Hülkenberg, and then Julian Palmer, who's going to send it down the inside to try and take second place away from Lewis Hamilton, so it could have nearly been a 1-2 for Renault, not quite there, and Palmer has to now get defensive against the two Ferraris of Vettel and Raikkonen, so Hamilton brushing him off for now, and his fellow compatriot. So it's at the moment Hamilton second, Palmer in third still, but Hülkenberg waltzing away once again, looking so comfortable. That Renault is really looking like a world beater of a car at the moment. If that car was at that pace at the beginning of the season, you've got to say probably Renault would be the ones dominating this season so far, so kind of a shame they've kind of chosen till only after halfway through the season to kind of finally pick up pace. But here goes Palmer then on the very next lap down the main straight, no DRS, just pure pace and slipstream there, and Palmer is up into second place, and it is a 1-2 for Renault at Monza. How about that, with Hamilton now down in third, and there's a bit of a gap then to the two Ferrari cars who are lagging behind somewhat and are probably holding up Bottas as we're closing back up to Valtteri. So hopefully I can close up to Valtteri sooner rather than later then, because then once we're past Valtteri, then we can ideally try and overtake Raikkonen, and then after that, honestly, I'm not too fast. As long as we can get past Raikkonen in this race, I think that'll be a good one for me. I need to, this is, I think, a damage limitation race for me in the wet at Monza. Probably the worst scenario I could have ever imagined, really. So I think as long as we can get ahead of Kimi, that'll be job done for me. But he's 2 places ahead of us, so we need to get past these cars first. Into turn 1, I did gain in the brake zone, but we went deep ultimately into turn 1. Compromise our line through turn 2. You can see we're tactically using the fuel, rich mix right now, gaining where we can, where I know the car's strongest, and then through the corners like Ascari, through the final corner, and then into the brake zone for turn 1, going down to maybe stand or lean, trying to save the fuel then, where it's not going to cost us too much time. So on the exit of Parabolica then, on the end of lap 3, on towards lap 4, good run now, up into rich mix, and now we're going to close up on Valtteri, gaining quite a bit here, and you can see actually the Force India, with Perez right up my chuff as well, is pulling quite a bit more than the Mercedes Works team in a straight line there. So really showing either our setups working quite well, maybe Valtteri's running even higher downforce than I am, or just really the work we've done, the good work we've done in the Force IndyCar with the drag reduction, that we're actually beating the Works team in a straight line, because here we go on the curve on the left-hand side on the outside. Thankfully, Bottas does not squeeze me towards the grass, and we're up into P6 now, and again, another green sector there, and we can chase after Sebastian Vettel, although we do slide around a little bit under braking, so a little bit of heart and mouth moment there, as that car could have snapped easily, and we could have been sent into the gravel there, but Perez will be right at the back of Valtteri Bottas straight away, as well as that Red Bull car of, I think that looks to be, maybe I want to say Daniel Ricciardo. I can't quite tell from here on this replay angle, but we're going to chase after Sebastian if we can. Meanwhile, Perez will size up Bottas, so good stuff to see. He's going to have the inside line for Ascari, so that should be the better place to be, so he can hang Bottas out to dry to the inside. Then Bottas will try his best, and actually, to be fair to him, he'll hang it around the outside and keep it through. Meanwhile, we have to go complete opposite lock on the exit to keep the car in a straight line. Literally have to turn the wheel upside down to keep that in a straight line. What a save there, if I do say so myself. And meanwhile, Perez up the order. He has got past Bottas, and now it's going to be Ricciardo down the inside as well. And so Bottas bottling this position he has in this race, and Ricciardo is up the order. Fantastic driving from the Australian, opportunistic. Saw Bottas, flustered after being overtaken by Checo, and he's made it work. But will Bottas come back down? He's inside, down the main straight they go. Slipstream, will the Mercedes pull? He's going to go to the outside. Interesting move, and looks like he's going to try and force some space, but Ricciardo is trying to squeeze him as hard as he can, and is allowed by the rules, and looks like Bottas has got the place there, and so they'll go side by side again onto the next lap then. So a lovely fight between the Red Bull and the Mercedes. Obviously the Red Bull's going to have a bit of a disadvantage here down all these straights. He has to try and do it in the corners basically, and try and be as aggressive as he can in defending, and Ricciardo is doing just that, and he is going to keep the position there. So great stuff from the Australian to eventually, after half a lap, keeping that position. And meanwhile, Checo, that's allowed him to just waltz away and actually try and maybe chase me down then in this race. But awesome stuff for us then, saved it. That was another heart and mouth moment, even more so than the previous heart and mouth moment, because that was literally, I was on the edge. I was 1 second away from losing that car into the wall on the exit of the Ascari complex there. But now as we move on to, we move on to the end of lap 5, and we've lost it again. There have been many mistakes. You can clearly see how much I'm struggling in these conditions. This car is on a knife edge at the moment for grip, and now Sergio Perez is going to come back at us now down the main straight on the outside. Then he's up into P6. We're going to brake early and just tuck him behind for P7. I can't afford to try and dive it down the inside, lock up and then make contact with him. I need to try and use him as a bit of an anchor and a toe maybe to try and close up to the Ferrari guys. Maybe if we can use some teamwork here, maybe being opportunistic, but that's all I'm thinking at the moment at this time. I'll say at the same time, I'd rather, come home in 7th than bin it in the wall after spinning. So that's my thinking there. And so Perez is actually pulling away from me and closing up to the Ferrari of, I think it's still Sebastian Vettel. Unfortunately, in the mini-map, you can see there's a huge gap to Raikkonen then. So we're going to have to do a lot of work once we close up to Perez again, sliding through, having to really wrestle the car left and right to keep it in a straight line through these corners. But we do close up on Perez somewhat through Ascari, and now we head down towards Parabolka towards the end of lap 6. And hopefully this time we won't be getting such a poor exit like we did on the previous lap. You can see on the entry in braking, having to twitch the car left a little bit to keep it in a straight line, and having to do the exact same with the exit again. So we are really struggling in this race at the moment. So I need Perez to maybe help me out here with a bit of a tow. We're in rich mix now, and Perez though is going to close up to Sebastian Vettel, it looks like, right in the slipstream, right up his gearbox in fact. And there's been contact! Oh my god, what on earth has happened there? Sebastian Vettel and Perez have made contact, and now I'm out of the Italian Grand Prix. Boom, my right front tyre completely wiped out. That's a horrendous crash at Monza. What on earth has gone on there? Let's look at a replay and try and suss out what's happened. It looked like Perez was so close to Vettel, and then cleanly our right tyre's taken off. Let's finally go on board with Sebastian and see what went on there. Doesn't he? He slows down halfway through the straight. So has he got a failure or maybe even a puncture? Maybe. Either way, he slowed down massively. And if you look on the left rear tyre, he's got a puncture. And so that's caused Perez to make contact with him. Looks like Perez actually came off unscathed, and he got lucky because he continues on into turn 1 wayward. But we are out of the Italian Grand Prix. What the hell? In a split second, that was the fastest crash I've ever had in a career mode so far, I think. In a split second, I'm looking ahead at Perez, slipstreaming Vettel, doing some good work to maybe overtake him, and then just like that, he's crashed with him. Vettel goes a little bit wayward, and I tried my best split reaction time within under a second to move enough left. Even I was considering going onto the grass if I had to, but it was too close of a gap to try and make work, and my right front tyre is completely shredded off. And luckily for Perez, he did not suffer the same fate, and he finishes off in some, I guess, some strong points. But Nico Hülkenberg wins the Grand Prix, and unfortunately for me, the worst possible outcome, Kimi Raikkonen bags a podium in third place there behind Lewis Hamilton. So Palmer obviously fell away from that 1-2 that he was in with Hülkenberg, unfortunately, and I'd rather that had happened, but no, Raikkonen has got third place there. So from what would have been 1 point behind, obviously going into this race now, we've lost 15 there. We've got 0 for DNF, and Raikkonen has got 15. That has been an absolute disaster of a Grand Prix. I mean, it was already looking like a tough one for us. I mean, I was struggling for grip, going opposite lock so many times. Throttle control just wasn't a thing I had that afternoon. But that is just I at least could have maybe struggled and wrestled through for some sort of points, but that is just such a shame there. And it's all over in such a flash. So there you go, we're in second place now, 16 points down the order from Kimi Raikkonen. Hülkenberg now is looking very dangerous, closing and closing with now 2 wins in 3 races. And for the constructors, that dents our chances. We're now 21 points down from Ferrari, so that doesn't help the team as a whole as well. So hopefully the team aren't too upset with me, but you can see the reputation has literally plummeted for every single team. They all hate me now after this Grand Prix, even though I don't feel like that was my fault. I feel like that was a racing incident of Vettel getting a puncher, and they're trying to fault me for not having a fast enough reaction time. But literally, you're going at 180 miles per hour plus down the straight. That's a very small margin of error to get right in terms of navigating the car out the way. And I got very unlucky because Perez got away with no damage, or with a little bit of front wing maybe, but no tyre off, and I got the tyre off. So there we go then. My first complete DNF in an F1 2017 career mode. Had to come at some point after 93 episodes, and so it's come here at the Italian Grand Prix where we're already struggling. So, yeah, I mean, guys, nonetheless, though, if you did find it an entertaining episode, nonetheless, I hope you did find it entertaining, either way, then do smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then you can subscribe for weekly F1 content. I've been Aarava. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys for the next one, which will hopefully be a bit of a better showing. Goodbye.